Hello, welcome back to Buckle Up. My name's Rob Wilson and this is 5 things I love and hate about my Lotus Elise. Okay then, so let's start off with the first thing that I love about my Lotus Elise, and I'm going to go with the obvious cliche one first of all. The driving dynamics. People are not making it up when they say that if you want to know how a car should handle, drive a Lotus. It really is that good. Everything about it, the lightweight, the positioning of the seats and the steering wheel, the gear change, the fact it's got a mid-engined layout, everything all together culminates in this fantastic, brilliant, awesome driving experience. There's no power steering in the way, so you feel every little bump, stone, crest, camber change all through the steering wheel. And because you sat so low and the seats have very minimal padding, you feel it through your bum as well, which is a bit weird, but at the same time it adds to that overall experience. There's vibrations, there's tingling, everything sort of comes together in just the best way you can possibly imagine. It really is amazing to drive. Okay then, so my first dislike, well, not really dislike or hate, those are too strong a word, but issue that I have with the car is the interior space. Now, what a normal, rational person would do is they would sit in the car, see if they fit, and then buy it. But what I did is sit in the car, see if I fit. I didn't, and then bought it anyway. So it's sort of really only myself to blame. This seat is as far as it goes back, and I could probably do with another couple of inches to just have my legs in a more sensible place. There's no proper footrest really, so if I'm doing longer trips, I don't really have too much space for my feet. I could do with having the steering wheel in a slightly different position, but this doesn't really move. The width of the cabin is a problem, especially if you have a colleague in here with you. I can insert some footage of how tight that is. But even with the skinniest, smallest, microscopic of human beings, Jasper, my other colleague, you do touch shoulders. So that's, you know, not the best if you're wanting to share this cabin with someone else. There's a lot of accidentally touching their leg when you put the handbrake on or change gear, that sort of stuff. But again, it's a small, compact, lightweight sports car. Can't really complain about that. It's just something that would improve my quality of life slightly. Anyway, next. Okay, so my next love has got to be styling. This car looks amazing from pretty much every angle I've seen of it, including underneath when it's on a ramp. But the fact, you know, it's got mid-engined layout, it's small, low to the ground, very low at the front. It's got the sort of almost ducktail sort of spoiler at the back. People come up to me asking what this is, and the first thing they say is Ferrari or McLaren or something incredible like that. But no, this car costs about a fifth of the price of one of them, and that's what people think it is. So obviously the styling is doing what it's supposed to. The lights, I prefer the lights on the Series 3 compared to the earlier Series 1 and 2 cars, especially the Series 2 where they had the split sort of insect eyes. These look more modern, more cohesive with the rest of the styling of the car. And yeah, I can't really think of an angle I don't like it from. So let's move on to the next one. Okay then, so my next dislike, niggle, whatever you want to call it, is the distinct lack of any sort of storage space. And I know that there is a boot and it's not actually that small, but when the roof is off, which it is most of the time when I drive it, it has to live in the boot. and when that's in the boot, there is no room for anything else at all, really. You might be able to get a small backpack in if you can squish it in, but really the boot is sort of filled by the roof when it's removed, which means that if you wanted to go away for the weekend, you're probably going to have some bags in the footwell, and we've already discussed the lack of space on the inside in the cabin. So little niggle, but it is what it is, isn't it? It's a sports car, it's a lightweight sports car at that. I am not really that bothered. So the next thing I want to talk about for my loves of the Lotus Elise is a bit of a wild card, really. Something that some Lotus owners might find slightly unusual, and that is reliability. I've had this Series 3 one for 3 years now. It's, as you can tell by the registration, 11 years old this year, and the only problem I've had in that 3 years is the battery. The battery is a special lightweight one, so obviously in keeping with the Lotus mantra, so it only lasts about 3 weeks. So you do need to keep an eye on it and keep it on a trickle charger, etc, etc. That's really about it. Apart from the dashboard, the dials went a bit AWOL, but it fixed itself. You see, does your car fix itself? Because this one didn't touch anything, it just fixed itself. I think it just had a bit of a blip in the old computer chip, but yeah, I mean, it's actually remarkable that a car that is, you know, well renowned for lots of trouble, usually serious, and I can't say that I've had that experience at all. Now, I'm not saying that all Lotuses will be like that, but that's definitely my experience with this one. Maybe it's something to do with the fact this has got the Toyota powertrain as opposed to the Rover K series engine, but I mean, touch wood, where the hell can I find a tree? There's a tree over there. I'm gonna go to a tree and touch wood, all right? See you in a minute. Okay, so let's talk about my next sort of, not really a hate, but something that could be improved, and that is the general sort of fit and finish in this cabin. Now, I know that it is a lightweight sports car, it's hand built, and obviously there's going to be bits that don't quite fit or come off or various things like that. But I do think that, especially if you were buying this car new and you were paying upwards of £35,000 for one, then you should expect a certain level of quality. There are a couple of bits where, you know, there's threads come off the steering wheel. This doesn't quite line up properly. I mean, I can move that and probably fit it a bit better than the people in Norfolk did. You know, general things such as that, not really too much of a problem. Something that I would be a little more concerned about if I drove this every day, and that is the fact that they actually have a warning sticker up here on the roof, and it says, "The roof system and weather seals on this vehicle are only designed to provide some protection from rain showers. Under certain conditions, such as heavy rain and wind, water may enter the cabin." Now, if I just spent £35,000 on a convertible car, like an SLK, or, I mean, even if I'd spent less than that on a mini convertible, or a Renault Megane convertible, or a Peugeot 308 convertible, or something like that, it wouldn't come with a sticker saying, by the way, the roof lets some water in. It's not really a roof. I know this car is not really designed to do all of that stuff, but I feel like maybe a little bit more attention could be put onto things like that. Anyway, it is what it is. I just don't drive it in a heavy rainstorm. So let's move on to another like. Okay, so my next love about the Elise is the fact that it's relatively cheap to run. You can do 35 to 40 miles to the gallon at a cruise, as long as you're not driving like an idiot. As a 24-year-old now, and when I bought this I was 21, 22. Insurance isn't terrifying. It's expensive, but it's not insane. I was able to get a quote on it, but in terms of like the daily ability of something like that, I mean, I couldn't, for reasons that I've got into, use this car every day with my stature, but I mean, you definitely could daily it from a sort of economics perspective. It's not that expensive to run at all, which has been a pleasant surprise really, and obviously it's relatively cheap to service if you can find a reputable specialist. You don't need to go to Lotus direct. I've got an excellent one in Harrogate, shout out to Drive Style, and they've kept this going beautifully over the past 3 years. So yeah. My next gripe is the getting in and out situation. When the roof is on, which again, it isn't most of the time, but let's say that it is, getting in is sort of a gymnastics routine, especially when you are a tall, gangly monster like myself. So I will demonstrate as best as I can the contortion that you need to do to get in. So firstly, I'll open up the door, and then I just have to, you can do this multiple ways, by the way, but I think the easiest one is actually just to sort of sit on the sill and put your foot in first, like so, then lift your other foot over, and then you're in. These sills are very, very thick and very, very high, so getting out, especially after you've been in it for an hour and a half, you can sort of push yourself up off the sill and do it that way, or how I have seen other people climb out of this before is the rather ungraceful way. I've seen my colleague do this before, is you just sort of push yourself to here and then just put your hands and knees on the floor and just crawl out. A man has died. But obviously that's not quite as dignified. Obviously that can be solved by just taking the roof off and stepping straight out. But yeah, that's with the roof on. Those are your techniques for people of my stature. Anyway, next. Okay then, so my final point about the Elise that I love is the fact that it makes you feel special every time you get into it. I mean, it's just a combination of all of the great things that I've said about it. The way it looks, the way it makes you feel when you drive it. Kids will point and stare and say, look at that car, it's, you know, and they'll wave at you. And people, when you go to a petrol station, will come up to you and say, what's that? And then you say, it's a Lotus, and they say, what's that? And then you have to go down and explain all of that stuff. But it does feel special every time you drive it. The whole sensation, the noise, the looks, I just love it. I'd be very sad indeed to see this go. I've had some absolutely great times driving this car, especially on this channel. Hopefully a few more to come. Hello, me again. My final gripe with the Elise are these seats. Because these are the sports seats that come as part of this being a club racer, so it's even more lightweight than a normal Elise. And what that means is you essentially get these rock hard seat molds, and then Lotus stick some padding where they think you require it. And I'm quite a slim, slender person. I think I would probably benefit from having a little bit of my own padding. The seat bases are okay, but on a longer journey, after like an hour and a half, my back is killing me. And I think that could be a combination of these seats with the roof line that if I actually sit up in the car properly, my head does touch. So I would say sort of my fault again for buying a car that I don't really fit in, but where's the fun in that, eh? Yeah, I mean, all joking aside, I would like a little bit more padding on my seats, but it's the car that it is. It's the purchase that I decided to make. It's entirely my fault, and I can't really blame the car for that. So let's finish up and do a bit of a conclusion and go from there. Right, okay then, so there are the things that I love and not hate, but niggle me about my Lotus Elise. Obviously none of those things should put you off buying the car. This is brilliant. I've loved owning it so far over the past 3 years. I would recommend that anyone who gets the opportunity to drive one should definitely do so. But with that, if you've enjoyed the video, remember to give it a like. If you've got something to say, you can comment down below. But most importantly, you should hit the big red subscribe button, and then you can see more videos just like this. Also down in the description are links to our social media pages. We're on pretty much everything nowadays. Our Patreon, if you'd like to contribute to the channel anyway. You can become a member if you want to contribute in a different way, or if you want to contribute and get something in return, you can click the link to our merch store, which you get some nice little merch like this. Oof, isn't this fancy? Anyway, so thanks very much for watching, and goodbye.